Hello.
Hello,
What's your name?
my name is Fatima.
Hello, Fatima. And where did you grow up and where do you live now?
I was born in South Africa, left South Africa at the age of 15 to come to England, where I live now.
And what's been the predominant practice, whether spiritual, contemplative, or something like that in your life?
Oh, undoubtedly yoga.
Right. And when did you begin practicing yoga?
I think when it became popular in the 60s with the Beatles, and I used to go to a lot of yoga classes and tried to meditate. Met some wonderful teachers. Found myself in Spain with a wonderful man, Swami Gitananda. And that's when I was introduced to the Gayatri Mantra. And that was my road to Damascus experience. I don't know what happened, but when I heard it, I just wept and wept and wept. It was like this was something that I knew and didn't know that I knew. And I was quite an ordinary person before then. But after that 2 months in Spain with Swami Gitananda, I became a vegetarian, teetotal, celibate. And I developed a lot of siddhis without knowing about them. When I left that retreat, I could read people's minds. I knew where they were hurting. I had clairvoyant experiences. But I dropped that very quickly because I knew that this isn't what I really wanted. There was something else. This thing called enlightenment. I didn't know what it was, but I really wanted it. And you know what? I still want it. However, that's another story. And shall I just continue?
Yeah, there's something about, there's already so much that I want to kind of cover. The Gayatri Mantra, had you had any inkling of mantra before that?
No, not at all. You see, I came from a Muslim background, so all this Hindu stuff was very weird. But somehow I was familiar with it. I recognized it. I had done it before somewhere. And it was the Gayatri Mantra that did it. I'd heard many other mantras before, but this was the one that just opened me up. And as I said, I wept and wept, and it was coming home.
What do you think the opening up was?
I don't know, because I didn't know what it meant. But it sort of, I don't know how to put it. It was cracking something here that had been closed. And it was like I was able to open up, expand, and be vulnerable. And to cry, which I never used to do. After all, I was British and we don't cry. So I cried and laughed. And
Was that a new experience for you then?
crying and laughing, yes. I was very reserved and proper and all that stuff, which is very boring. I had a very bendy body, but inside I was closed. And now that the body doesn't bend, but this is more open.
And so when you talked about, the Gayatri Mantra was the entry point for you. When you talk about siddhis, what does that mean?
Cities are, what's the English word I want? Cities are like going to, you see, I'm old and forgetting my words. Going to a soothsayer, an astrologer, and you pay mega bucks for that. But this was something that I just knew, like if I was talking to you, I could know what was hurting you and what you needed. And if I was talking to somebody else, I know what was going to happen to them. That sort of stuff. But as a teacher once said to me, don't mess with the cities, there's more, there's much, much more.
And did these things develop just through personal practice of your own?
Well, I think it was just there, but they didn't interest me except that, oh, goodness me, this is exciting. It is for real. But they didn't interest me that much. And I never used them.
Right. So what was the continuation like after, those early years of the Gayatri Mantra, the siddhis? What was then that it compelled you through practice?
Because it gave me a purpose in life. That sounds a bit boring. I couldn't resist it. Then I found my first, or rather my second teacher. I won't mention his name, but I was with him for 30 years. And I really got into all this Hindu stuff. I didn't like the pictures and the statues. I thought, I couldn't understand why people would worship statues. They were just a bit of clay. But then once in upstate, it was in California, cold, and a statue of the Guru's Guru had been installed. And we were invited to go along and see the statue. I didn't want to, so I said I'd stay and look after the bookshop, which was my duty. But people came away and they all looked very sort of teary and profound. And my supervisor had brought me some prasad, which is blessed food, from the opening. And I ate this piece of chocolate, this prasad, this blessed food. I don't know what happened, but then I wanted to go and visit the statue. By this time, all the crowds had gone. And I didn't realize then the sculptor was at the door, allowing me to go into the private courtyard. And there was a crazy guy sitting there talking to the statue. And I thought, well, there's all sorts that come to this ashram. So I sat in front of the statue, wondering what it was all about. As I say, it was a very cold evening. The statue was just wrapped in a thin little silk shawl. And I found myself thinking, at least they could have put a warm blanket around him. It's so cold. And I thought, oh, what a silly thought. And then, to my astonishment, I could see the statue breathing. And I thought, no, it's just the silk scarf moving in the wind. And then, I might burst into tears at this point because it's still so touching. From where the statue had a heart, this white light came into my heart. I couldn't believe that this white light existed, like a flash of lightning. And then I just burst into tears. And all I wanted to do was to climb up into this statue's lap and remain there forever.
What was it that you felt?
I beg your pardon?
What was it that you felt?
I think I felt love. I'm not sure. I don't think there are words for what I felt. It was so, so deep and so profound and so overwhelmingly beautiful. And also a little bit of understanding about things that I had negated, like, worshipping of statues and things that I didn't understand.
That sounds really, really deep. What do you think happened?
I think the teacher, in the form of the statue, was giving me a blessing. But also so many things used to happen around that statue in various places. Of course, a different statue of the statue. For example, during Hatha Yoga practice, And I would always try and go and sit or lie as near the statue as I could, just to be close to the statue. And then one day when we were being told to get up into shoulder stand, which I did with difficulty, but this day I just flew up. There was an energy, a Shakti that was pulling me up, and I thought, this is how a shoulder stand should be, effortless, floating. And I think it was just the Shakti, the energy from the statue. So each yoga class I'd go and wait for that to happen. It would never happen when I wanted it to. Sometimes it would just be Bastrika, pranayama. And I was expecting it, and of course it didn't happen when I wanted it to. But there was a magic about something that I didn't understand. The mystery and magic of yoga and the whole of the Hindu tradition.
What do you understand Shakti to be?
Spiritual energy. That energy that is in all of us, but we don't tap into it.
And you feel you're tapped into that in yourself?
Oh, yes. And now, at this last chapter of my life, I feel I have tremendous respect for all the teachers that have brought me to where I am now. And they all say the same thing, all traditions, look within. Don't give your energy to somebody else out there, it is here. So now I feel that I no longer want a teacher. The teacher is here. But it sounds so egotistical to say that, but I know this is true. And there is so much wisdom in each of us here, but we look outward for it. But that's how our journey is.
So you feel like as you got into your older years, you're just all you need is yourself?
Yes, but I would still like mommy or daddy to make it better. Give me a pill and make it better now, instead of me having to do it. But you see, that's another thing about having to do things. If I don't do anything, then it happens like I'm content. And I truly have everything I need.
And do you feel like contentedness is what the seeking has been about?
I wanted to be something else, like rainbows and unicorns and all that stuff. But being grateful and content with what I have, truly. And also, just to make my life as simple as possible. And magic in the tiny things, like, because I walk so badly with my stick, I look at the pavement now instead of the window shops and stuff. And then you see a tiny little blade of grass growing out of the crack, and that's magic.
So it's magic in the little things?
Absolutely, without doubt.
So if there's something you want to share with other people that you've learned over the years you've been seeking and you practiced, there's one thing you wanted to share, what would it be?
One thing, live your dream. And by that I mean, do what you want to do now. Don't wait until you have enough money, or when the children are grown up, or you're retired, because it might not happen. There is only now. So do it now, whatever it is for you.
Thank you, Fatima.
Is that it?
That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, gorgeous. Thank you.